Okay, so welcome. Um, Happy November. My name is Adrienne, and I am in Westerville, Ohio. I'm a trainer with LuLaRoe, and I've been a consultant for a year. I just had my 1 year anniversary open house, and I've never worn glasses on these calls before, so I see this glare and it's driving me nuts. So I apologize. Um, First, I want to say congratulations to Crystal Schlicker. She's now officially a coach in the queue, which means that she has 3 trainers, myself, Danielle, and Natalie, who are trainers under her. So that's really exciting. Yay, Crystal. So Crystal and I, after leadership, decided to have more trainings, and we asked you guys for topics, and one of the most common one was about booking pop-ups. And so I'm going to hit on a bunch of different things when it comes to booking pop-ups, because I know that depending on where you are, like you might be someone in the queue who you're just concerned about getting, your first month or 2 booked, but maybe people who are 6 months, 9 months, or a year in, you're just struggling to get pop-ups. So I'm going to try to hit on both. And for those who are struggling to get pop-ups, feel free to chime in with any of the challenges you're facing. And just in general, feel free on the chat if anybody wants to comment or ask questions or anything like that. Or if you're on your iPhone, you can unmute. So I'm going to start with your calendar. So you cannot book pop-ups until you have decided in your calendar when you want to have pop-ups. This is recommended because if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I want to have a party, and you're like, oh, I don't know, when do you want to have a party? That's letting your customers, kind of designate your business, and you want to be in charge of your business. So the number one thing you can do, which we've all talked about, is taking out your planner, see the little highlights. Those are my pop-up dates, and I know when I have parties available. And you want to go ahead and do that if you haven't already for November and December, and really go ahead and do it for January and February. Look at your personal family calendar and decide, when am I going to do pop-ups? When am I going to do online? And have that all figured out on your calendar, because it makes hosting a party easier on the person, because you're giving them options and saying, do you want A or B? So it starts there. After that, the next thing we suggest is the 72-hour game plan. And let me just say, I'm not going to spend, a half hour on 72-hour game plan. But number one, if you're not familiar, please ask your sponsor. And number two, if you're rolling your eyes thinking like, oh, the 72-hour game plan, I've heard it a million times. Well, you've heard it a million times because it works. So the reason I say maybe you'd go back to your 72-hour game plan is I have my 72-hour game plan written in a notebook here that I got at the Inspire last year in Cincinnati, which it was not called Inspire at that time, but whatever it was called. Here's my list of 50 names. I go back to this on a regular basis because I realize that there are people within my list that I made of my 50 names that even still a year later have not bought any LuLaRoe, that I haven't introduced these clothes to. And so there's always people that you can go back to, not to mention maybe your list has changed. Your kid is in a new sport, or they've changed schools, or you've started a new job. You might have all new people that you can add to your 72-hour game plan. So the reason that we have that, it's a commitment to, and it's really just a visualization of people that you want to talk to about the business. And when you have those kind of written out, it just gives you a way to start a conversation with people about LuLaRoe and about hosting a party. So start with your calendar and then go to your 72-hour game plan of just people, right? People that your circle and that type of thing. So if you're struggling, go back to the basics is what I would say. But, oh, sorry, I thought I heard someone. It's a kid chiming in. No worries. Like I said, if you're in the queue, this is going to help you to fill your calendar. And for seasoned consultants, just keep going back to it. The next thing I'm going to suggest is posting on your VIP page. So one of the things you can do is you can look at your calendar, right? And you can see that there's a few open days available. And maybe you just want to post something on your Facebook group saying something like, maybe you show the calendar and then you put like the open dates that are available, and maybe you X out the ones where you already have parties or something, because you don't want to look desperate. right? You don't want to put that you have like 12 days available. You want to say you have like 3 or 4. Whether or not that's true doesn't matter. But, maybe it's just a graphic, something about like Hostesses Wanted. Maybe it's something about double incentives or just something where you can reach out to people on your VIP page. And also, I have found that now I do online parties once a month, and I make them a hostess battle. And the reason I do this is it's made hostesses more engaged to actually participate because they want to win the battle. So I have 4 or 5 hostesses participate, and it's people who wouldn't know each other. So maybe it's a circle from college, a circle from church. You make sure that they're not people that would be inviting the same people. And you have them, invite people to the online party. You have them shop just like you would normally do any type of online party. But then whoever wins the hostess battle gets double the hostess rewards. So you want to, kind of incentivize and say like, oh, so-and-so's in the lead, and, this lady's right behind her, and, kind of make it a little bit more fun because the hostesses get more into it. And I've never had a problem asking people, hey, do you want to participate in this hostess battle? Because you might win double the rewards. And they're like, oh, yeah, I want to do that, as opposed to maybe just like a regular old online party or something. So hostess battles, I think, are effective, but I also think they're an easy ask is what I would say. The other thing I'm going to suggest is that you take pictures. So the next time you are having a pop-up, take pictures. I know sometimes it's really hard for us because we're in the moment. The guests are coming. We're introducing them to the product. They're trying things on. Checking them out. But I cannot stress enough, like, at least at the very, very end, take a picture of your hostess holding up her free clothes and, like, how happy she is. But also during the pop-up, while people are, like, trying things on, or just, like, a room with people and racks like this, and just show what it looks like. Sometimes people just need a visual of, like, what is a pop-up? So I will take pictures, and then I will post on my VIP page and be like, another successful pop-up, and I'll show, a picture of the hostess, Heather, with all her free clothes. And it just gets people to go like, oh, I want to do that. Because the last time I posted one, I had a couple people ask, what's a pop-up? Or they said, how do I do that? So it's, again, an easy way to engage with your customers without having to, like, straight out ask, will you host a party? Which, by the way, I'm going to recommend in the coming notes. But just one of those things, like, mentally, the next time you're at a pop-up, take pictures. So then you always have that to go back to. Most likely when you invite people to a pop-up, you have like a Facebook event where you're posting on it and, giving info. Well, after the event is over, that's a really great thing to post too, because you can basically do like a big thank you post. Like, thanks for everybody who's coming today. Look, Heather got all her free clothes. And if you want to earn free clothes, make sure you I have these 2 open dates available. And the reason I suggest that is there's a lot of people on that invite that maybe did not come to the pop-up. But if they see the picture of her with all her free clothes, heck, they might not have even come to your pop-up, but they might, see that posting on Facebook and be like, oh, man, I missed today, but that would be really fun. I'd like to host one of those in the future. So just any opportunity you can to give people a visual and show them what a pop-up looks like, I highly suggest. Maybe even go live during a pop-up. I've never done this. This literally just came to my mind. But like, maybe go live on your event page. Like, hey, I'm live here at this pop-up, and look how much fun people are having, and and show people, drinking their wine and trying on clothes. What woman doesn't want to be a part of that? I think, LuLaRoe parties are different, and we need to show people that, because some people might have this taste in their mouth of direct sales parties and what they're used to. With, like catalogs and cheesy games, and we don't do any of that. And that's the beauty of LuLaRoe. So you want to make sure that you show people what that's like. Okay, some of the questions that we had when it came to booking a pop-up was how to book a pop-up from a pop-up. So that's honestly one of the best ways, is because people are in the moment and they're at a pop-up, they see how successful it is, and they're like, oh, this is fun, I want to do this. So some very popular tricks that are used, or not tricks really, just like incentives or fun things that are used. At the checkout line is one of the best places where, you know, because you're engaging with a customer one-on-one while they're checking out, right? So a lot of people do the envelope trick. And just to give you an idea, it's where you take a colored envelope and you write a date on it. So maybe you write 3 or 4 envelopes with upcoming dates where you have pop-ups free. And then you want to stick a little piece of paper inside with an incentive on it. Examples of incentives could be double hostess rewards. It could be a free item, like maybe a free Cassie or free pair of leggings. If you onboarded and got free Patricks in your inventory, I would 100% do a free Patrick because you lose no money on that. Or maybe one of the slips is just like 10 or 20% off an item. And you tuck those in and you make it hidden. And you have those at the checkout line. And so a lot of times people will ask you, what is that? Or it gives you a chance to point to it and say, I'm doing a special promotion, pick an envelope and you get a prize, an extra incentive for hosting, and, basically just kind of encourage people. A lot of times with the envelopes, because they're colored and they're sitting there with dates, people ask about it, but that's a very common one. Another one is the pick a date, pick a pair. So maybe you have some duplicate leggings, maybe you have some solids or something you want to, see out the door, maybe some lighter prints. Just roll them up, put a nice little bow around them, and put them in a basket, and just, put some kind of sign or something that says pick a date, pick a pair, and then have your open dates listed. And so when people are at checkout, you can just say something as simple as, hey, doing a promotion to book, if you want to book a pop-up with me, you get to pick a free pair of leggings tonight for booking your pop-up. Are you interested in hosting any of these open dates? You could also do pick a pair or pick a date, pick a bottle. Some people do with like different bottles of wine. Really, you can do any prize you want. But again, you want to have those dates preset, so they have to pick the date and literally book it there. That's why having your calendar is so important. And then also, again, only do like 3 or 4 choices. I also sometimes just go get little prizes like from the dollar store or like clearance racks at Bed Bath & Beyond. And I don't even show people what they're going to get, but I just make like a little goodie bag that says, anybody who books a pop-up, gets a prize. And I just kind of have it there, and people are like, oh, what's in the goodie bag? And I'm like, you don't know until you host a party. So just little things like that. The other thing I would say is if you're at a pop-up and someone has their hands full of clothes, right, and they're at the checkout and they're kind of like, okay, what's the total? And they're kind of like questioning, like, I don't know if I can get this item or not because I got to see, my husband gave me a budget. I went over my budget. So you say, they've got their hands full and they're about to go put a shirt back up on my rack and say, like, I'm not going to get this one this time. That is when you take the shirt out of their hands and you say, you could actually get this free by booking a pop-up. It's really easy. You can do it just like so-and-so where, I set up the clothes and your friends shop, and then you could get this shirt for free. Do you want to pick one of my open dates? And sometimes they just need asked. Like sometimes they just need to understand that, like, I really wanted to get all these clothes and my budget didn't allow, so hosting a party will get me some free clothes. So if you see someone who has a lot of items, I highly recommend that. And then, like I said, after the event is over, definitely post a thank you, post a picture of the hostess with all her freebies, and ask anyone if they want to earn free clothes like, Heather did or whatever. The other thing I'm going to talk a little bit about is thinking outside the pop-up box, which home office hit on this a little bit today, and I've been getting some questions and asked for clarification, which you guys know how sometimes things that come from home office is about as clear as mud, so I'm going to do my best. So when I say think outside the pop-up box, like pop-ups do not necessarily mean you have to pack up your inventory and go to someone's house. Yes, that does happen. Don't forget, you can also do pop-ups at your own house. That's what I do, obviously, because I have these giant racks now and I just have too much. But think outside of a house. Maybe you can do it at a daycare. Maybe you can do it at a school or a preschool. I have awesome success doing pop-ups right after school at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. I set up in an empty classroom. The teachers all come in, they shop, they're excited, and then they can go on with their day. And so it's a quick pop-up with a huge customer base at one time. Those are really awesome ways to get a pop-up without being, a traditional pop-up. And so if you have a friend, maybe what you want to do is do a post on your VIP page, like calling all teachers, and say that you're going to do some special incentive, like, get a free pair of leggings for booking if you're a teacher and you do an in-school pop-up. Maybe you want to do something like that. You can also, like salons, maybe you have a friend who works at a salon or something, ask if you can do a pop-up at the salon. Now, here's what I want to clarify. So today, Deanna and Mark were touching on like people setting up storefronts at malls. I'm basically saying you cannot have a retail space. My understanding of that is that, or at least what I'm guessing happened, is that, the holidays are approaching, and a lot of times at the mall you can buy these, like, you can rent a kiosk, where you just set up your stuff, kind of like in the hallway of the mall in a sense. It's not an actual store. And so my guess is that maybe there were people renting those out or something, and you absolutely cannot do that. We cannot have storefronts, we cannot have shopping hours at a retail location. But my knowledge and my understanding of the rule is that you are allowed to have a pop-up, like a one-time pop-up shop at an established location. So if it's a salon, you can, or a school, you can say, we're having a pop-up today. It's from 1 to 3, stop by. That is my understanding. If they send any further clarification, I will let you all know. But I just want to encourage you, to think outside that box. Maybe if you work in an office setting, one of my team members that's on this call, she takes her bins with her to work, and her coworkers just know to go shop with her, out of her trunk, which I think is awesome. And maybe you make that a regular thing. Like maybe every Friday you bring a different style with you, because Friday is payday. Do not forget that ever. Fridays are very good days to have pop-ups because people just got paid. So maybe it's, like this Friday I'm bringing all my Randy's, guys. I'll have them out in the trunk. I'll have them, during lunch break or whatever. People can come out and shop my pop-up in my car, So just get creative is what I would have to say when it comes to that. Also daytime pop-ups, stay-at-home moms. There's nothing wrong with hiring a sitter to watch all the kids in a playroom and having all the moms shop. You pay the sitter and some LuLaRoe with a couple pairs of leggings and encourage moms to come shop during the day. So when it comes to pop-ups, maybe sometimes we need to get outside of our mind frame of okay, well, my pop-ups are always going to be on Thursdays at 7 o'clock, and that's when I have pop-ups. Maybe we need to think a little bit outside of, who to ask. And that's the other thing that I want to talk about. So if you're having trouble booking pop-ups, the one thing I want to say to you is don't be afraid to ask. I think, for someone who's a salesperson, I've been in sales my whole career, and so I have had to learn to be okay hearing no. And I want you to think about it this way. I heard this from another teammate on a call, and I loved it. When you go to a restaurant and you just ate dinner and your server comes up to you and asks you, would you like dessert, or would you like to look at our dessert menu? And you say, no, thank you. Or if you're in the mood for dessert, you say, yeah, that sounds nice. Are you in any way offended by that waiter because he asked you for dessert? No, right? Is it going to cause you to not go back to that restaurant because that waiter asked you for dessert? No. But maybe you really wanted dessert, and so you're really glad that he asked, okay? That's the way I look at this. When you ask someone, hey, I've got a couple open dates in November. Are you interested in hosting a pop-up and earning free clothes? That's all you have to, just don't be afraid to ask the question, because the worst they can say is no. And let's think about that. I'm coming from a sales perspective, I really had to get used to hearing the word no. And what I learned was if you don't ask, you're never going to get a yes. And if you get a no, you're no less than what you were before, okay? You haven't lost anything. Maybe your ego is a little shattered, but really, you got to be okay asking the question. And I think a lot of people are basically just looking for a script when it comes to pop-ups. So, I mean, I literally just asked the question, would you be interested in hosting a pop-up? You know, if I'm at the checkout, like say, you know, the hostess is Heather, you know, are you interested in hosting a pop-up like Heather did so you can earn free clothes like her? I mean, it's that simple. If you're sending a message to a friend, maybe it's just a text message saying, hey, I know you love LuLaRoe. With the holidays approaching, just wanted to see if you were interested in hosting a pop-up so you can earn some free clothes for Christmas. I mean, you know, like just come up with something that sounds natural and feels natural to you, and just don't be afraid to ask. Go back to your list of people. Maybe look at some of your best customers. And think about, okay, well, if they love LuLaRoe, then they're going to talk it up to their friends. And they wear it all the time, so I'm sure their friends are seeing it, their coworkers are seeing it. So, you know, I guess I just really wanted to make sure people like felt comfortable with asking, if that makes sense. And here's what I want to say. I touched on it a little bit, but when it comes to like LuLaRoe pop-ups are fun. And if they're not fun, then you guys are not doing something right because it's so fun, okay? People love coming to LuLaRoe pop-ups because they're so different. When people walk in the door, you know, my first question I ask them is, are you familiar with LuLaRoe? That's all I say. Are you familiar with LuLaRoe? I either get, oh yeah, I own blah, 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 blah. And so then I'm basically like, okay, you're good. Have at it. And some are like, I own a pair of leggings. And that's when I'm like, okay, well, let me show you some of the pieces. And then some are like, no, this is my first and it's very overwhelming. And that's where you take time and you do a more personal thing. But what I always make sure to say is, well, this is unlike any party you've ever been to. There's no games. We're not going to sit in a circle and I'm going to pass around a catalog. Or, you know, I make sure that they know there's nothing cheesy here. It's just the clothes. You can try them on and you can have something to eat or drink. Like, it's that easy. I make sure there's music playing. So I really want you to think about the atmosphere at your pop-ups. Are they fun? Are they inviting? Do people like being there? Because if they do, chances are they're going to want to book one for themselves if they're having a good experience. So I just want to make sure that, you know, don't overthink pop-ups. Make sure they are just a relaxed and fun atmosphere that people want to come to. And the other thing that I want to talk about is being generous. So on the call 2 weeks ago, Mark and Deanne said something that really hit home for me. But basically, like, think about it this way. If you have a hostess and let's say you do, your incentive is, you know, for 10 items, every 10 items you get a free item. And let's say your hostess is at like 18 items. So Mark and Deanne gave this example, and they were like, if you were to say to your hostess, well, you only got 18, so you're just getting that one free item. Do you think that's going to leave a good taste in her mouth about LuLaRoe? Is that going to leave her with a good experience? Is she going to want to have another pop-up? Is she going to want to tell her friends about it? No. So it's really important that you are generous with your hostesses. If I have a hostess that's at 18, maybe what I do is I look at the total sales and I say, you know what? It would actually be a better deal for you to just take 10% of the sales, and that would count towards this, this, and this. And so all you have to pay for is these leggings. And so I make her feel good that she had a good pop-up. And maybe she'll be a repeat hostess again 6 months or a year from now. Because think about it, you guys, the longevity of this business. So I'm now a year in. I just recently asked a hostess to re-host a party, or not re-host, but host another party. She was the best hostess I've ever had. Biggest pop-up, over 100 items. And I said, do you want to do it again? It's been, 7 or 8 months. And I figure, maybe, hopefully she can, do the same thing or at least close to it. But like people, if they had a bad experience, they're not going to want to come back to you and host more parties. So you want to think about that too, is making sure you're really taking care of the hostess and giving her a great experience, because she'll tell her friends and then her friends will host, and it all plays into that. And one other thing is that you can offer a booking incentive to your hostess. I've actually never tried this, but it's something you could say to your hostess, like, hey, I'm going to offer, I'm going to do this pick a pair thing tonight. Encourage your friends to host a party too, because if you have one person host, I'll give you 10% off an item. If you have 2, I'll give you 20%. If you have 3, I'll give you, or something. I don't know. If you get 3, I'll give you a free item. Whatever. You can pick whatever incentive you want. But maybe you do some kind of booking incentive with your hostess to get her to encourage her friends to have a party. So I only have like less than 10 minutes left. Everybody's time is valuable, and the Indians are in the World Series, so we have to make sure that we end the call. But does anyone have any questions? Does anybody have any suggestions? Any challenges you're facing? For those who are struggling with booking pop-ups, is there anything I didn't hit? Any thoughts at all? Just want to put it out there and give a quick Q&A time before we cut things off. Make sure I covered everything. No? Everybody's quiet.
Adrienne, it's Danielle.
Hi.
Hey. My girls this week have been asking with the struggle on how to convince people to host an in-home versus online. So what are some suggestions? I've tried to give some too, but maybe you have some different thoughts on how to encourage a person that's willing to host to say, okay, I'll do it in-home versus online.
Okay, well, I would probably inform the hostess that she's going to likely get more rewards and more hostess benefits for doing an in-home pop-up. The general feeling I've been getting from people who come to my in-home pop-ups lately is, I've heard of LuLaRoe and I see it online and it's, but I really just wanted to see it in person. I really just wanted to try it on. I really just wanted to touch it, and I want to know my sizing. And so if I had a hostess who was like, oh, I don't know, I would say, I really want to encourage you, if you're open to me, coming to your house, or if you're open to an in-home pop-up, those are the more successful parties, because people really want to see it, feel it, touch it, and try things on in person. Or I would just offer an extra, incentive for in-home versus online would be my suggestion. I don't know if either of those are things you told them to, but online it's great, but people are struggling with buying online because our sizing, just depending on the fabrication, it can vary so much. It's become more difficult. So that's the direction I would go, is just tell your hostess, hey, you're going to get more freebies if you do it at home. Offer to come clean your house. Just kidding.
Thanks, girl.
Yep. Anybody else? Now, see, you're down like in the main part of my screen now, and I have no idea how to fix, anyways, I got to ask somebody how to fix that.
Swipe across. Can you swipe across? On mine, you swipe across and you can see all the different frames.
I don't know. Oh, well. Any other questions before we go? Because I'm eating Halloween candy. Is anyone else eating Halloween candy, I hope, while your kids are asleep?
Had 2 pieces while you talked.
Of my Twix bar. All right. Anybody else? Well, hopefully this answered some of your questions. Just know that this business is so different. For me personally, once I got going, I really got to a point where I don't have to ask very much. And that's a good feeling, Indirect sales, I don't think that's the norm. And so it's nice to have people asking you, hey, can I host a pop-up? So that's where you want to get to. And if you're not there yet, go back to the basics, okay? I'll just encourage everybody to do that. You're welcome. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut things off. Have a great night.